Welcome to this episode of Becoming a Master, a vlog in which I document my journey in trying to become a master painter. Now, in the previous episodes, you've seen me painting the painting behind me, and I actually finished it, but looking at it, I wasn't happy with it, and after getting some feedback on it, I decided to change some things and to add some personal elements to make it really my painting. And that is what this episode is all about, so let's dive into it. So I left this painting for about a week, maybe 2 weeks, and just looked at it and said, okay, I really got to change a bit. And I posted it, got some feedback too, especially about the holes there and the trees, that they were too dark and that I had to change something about those uniform holes in the trees. But one thing I noticed myself wasn't happy totally with the water, but especially with the rocks. I wasn't happy with having all of them having the same color. So I decided to work some more on the rocks and giving them different tones, different colors. And I really like that. Now, one remark I'm going to make: when I was painting, I think it was pretty good, but not as good, by far not as good as Andrew wants. It still looks a bit illustrative. And I think that might be the way I'm using the paint. So for the next painting, I'm definitely gonna change a couple of things and do some things different and think of a different strategy to pull this out of the illustrative and more into the realism. Although for what it looked like, well, I'm pretty happy with how it turned out to be. And adding all these changes in the color in the rocks really worked well. And of course, once you do the rocks, then you notice that the water needs to change and some darker parts need to change, some lighter part needs to change. And then while I was going, I decided, well, let's do a couple of totally different color rocks in between to a bit more into the yellow ochre colors. And that worked really well. And by the time I was done, I was pretty happy with how these rocks looked and how the water and how the scene looked. But the thing I still had to change was these trees. The tree line was way too dark and I had to bring in some color. So added another layer, just thin paint, some glazing on top of it, and getting in some different tones, making it more look like a forest in the back. And also getting rid of some of these holes in the trees so that it's not so uniform. And once you're painting with that, then of course you have to change everything in the back. So I figured, well, this looks like a bulk of trees now. So I make sure I put in some trunks so that it's obviously, and some highlights so that it's clear that there is a forest behind this whole scene, that the stream is coming out of the forest. And this part I really enjoyed. I really enjoyed changing those colors. And that is the nice thing about having a paint like this. You can just go over it, change everything, add another layer, and suddenly you got a whole different scene, which is way more pleasing. But once you start changing, then you have to change a bit everywhere. When I was done, I looked at it and said, it's empty. So I decided I needed some life. I needed to add something. Now, I realized this is not the best video editing there is, video recording, because I added some deer. And as you can see in the bottom, I used a magnifier because it was really small work and I'm quite far away from the painting. That is a huge disadvantage when filming. I can't get up close because what you see then is my head, so I had to use a magnifier. But that gets in the way of the filming, of course. And I added 3 deer, a family of deer, and here I'm painting a baby deer. And well, I think once I'm done, you can see it. It's kind of Bambi, is it? I don't mind it because it adds life to this whole scene. So I added these deer from actually photographs, and with this deer you can clearly see it. I just drew it in with a fine liner first, so that once I get painting, I won't lose all these lines. In pencil, I often lose the lines right away, and they needed to stay for a while, but the paint can just go over it. So I'm adding all these small details with very small brushes I'm working now, and I'm zooming in a lot, but these are tiny deer, but they worked well. So here's the first version, and you can see quite dark still, and there is the second version. after the critique what I changed, and these rocks look way better, these trees look better. And then here's my final version, because I thought it needed some life, and those deer really add life. And this is Andrew's original. Now you can see the huge difference between his and mine, and I still have a way to go, but that is why I'm in the academy, to learn.